Welcome to Bridgman Anatomy Week 9. Again, this is our last week of the more technical study. Next week, we'll be having a little bit of fun and doing some figure invention, or if figure invention isn't your thing, you can try and draw from your memory. So, next week, the assignment will be to come up with a figure just out of your imagination, or try to redraw one of the Bridgman drawings from memory to see how much of it we've retained to our memory. But this week, we're going to do the drawing from our ever faithful anatomy model, Yoni. So let's go ahead and, if you haven't seen it, you should go check out Yoni Baker's, I think it's Baker Model, his social media stuff. He's always posting stuff on there that you can get in on some online figure drawing and things of that nature, and some reference packs and things like that. So head, sweep of the neck, pin of the neck, and then really active gesture. Sweep of the trapezius. Not quite profile, so there's a little bit of center line showing. Check that head size real quickly. Seems about right, but I keep on thinking it might be a little bit big. So that seems pretty good. Get that collarbone thrusting out. Pit of the neck. Coming over to the other collarbone. Trapezius. Strapping from the back of the neck down to round about the acromion process. Lock that whole deltoid together. Come up and have that lock into the pec. Down here, and then again having that pec rhythm wrap around the rib cage. Then we've got the lat coming through, and then the rib cage. Rib cage coming here, and then up into the opening of the rib cage. Small of the back, coming out to the gluteus medius, and then gluteus maximus. You can always use vignettes like this as sort of a little exercise in invention as well. So I can't see the rest of his leg, but practicing a little bit how I remember all of that strapping together. So now we've got the big overall framework in there. So then coming in with the lat, we've got the serratus. Again, looking for variation of those serratus as much as I can. They are a very repetitive muscle group, so they're going to be somewhat repetitive. Then notice how along these anatomical rhythms, look how they're guiding the shadow pattern. So locking together, just like I locked together those anatomical rhythms. Try not to separate them in your mind. Try not to think, oh, this and then this and then this. I mean, yeah, there is a process to it, but they're all just different representations of essentially the same thing. Gesture is a representation of the relationship of the forms. Structure is the representation of the forms. Mass is the representation of the light on the form. So it's not really, it all comes back to form. It's just different aspects. So see, just by getting those big forms in there, those big structures, and getting a light source put on them, it already starts to come together because I'm thinking of the wedging. It feels solid because of the way my puzzle pieces interlock and overlap around each other. So wrapping around the bicep and locking down in between the bicep and the tricep, circling back around and locking into the collarbone locking around into the trapezius back around. So everything pieces together almost like machine parts. You know, they have to connect together properly to work properly. And it's something I'm always striving for in my work, is that physical solidity because it doesn't exist. It's an illusion. I mean, there is no physical solidity to this drawing. It's just a flat sheet of paper. But by utilizing that design, that wedging, that blocking, that again, that Bridgman is so good at, and I'm bringing that into a drawing of a real person, I'm hoping that I can bring some of that Bridgman flavor while still maintaining the authenticity and believability of the source material, the reference. It's what all my favorite artists were so good at, and continue to be so good at, the ones that are still out there making us all look bad. So now I've got the big overall 2-value block in there for the drawing. So now my goal is going to be to come in and start bringing in more of that authenticity. So a lot of the Bridgman stuff has now been executed. I mean, not that I won't continue to maintain and inject it, but right now that's about, that's a lot of the Bridgman stuff. I'd say so far that's like 90% of the Bridgman that I'm going to use in the drawing. But now what I want to do is start coming in and injecting more authenticity, more believability. While trying to hang on to that Bridgman, whatever you want to call it, construction, structure, stylization, whatever you want to call it, that Bridgman-ness. So now I'm using what I see in the model to embellish that Bridgman influenced structure. Not that the structure wasn't still, based heavily off of what I'm seeing there, because it was, but a lot of the simplification and redesign is based off of what I remember from Bridgman. So just continuing to build up those forms, looking at the model, analyzing edges, analyzing values, and letting a lot of Bridgman seep through in the structure and the design. Obviously, Bridgman's edges aren't going to do me much good because they're pretty simple. And even if they weren't, they're not executed in a tonal fashion. So one of the big tricks to this for me, personally, is always trying to build up that volume of the big rib cage form. So getting that whole rib cage to roll, but then giving all of these individual indications their little place to shine as well. So it's a little bit like making a superhero movie. You know, you need the whole movie to work as a whole, and that's the most important part. But each character has their fans, and you need to give each character their little moment to shine. Otherwise, why are they there? And it's kind of the same way here. You know, I don't want them to dominate the movie, but at the same time, they need their room, their little place to shine, their little job to do. And it needs to be handled with care. If it's not going to be handled with care, why put it in? Then I'll periodically get up on the tip of the pencil just to add some texture. Let's do something a little bit differently. So if you're wondering why I'm using the tip of the pencil creating a little cross-hatching stuff, just so that not everything is done the same. Again, a little bit of chaos, a little bit of randomness. And I don't really have a rhyme or reason necessarily for why, where, or why I do it, other than just aesthetics. It just feels like it. And some of that I do take from Bridgman, believe it or not. You know, where he puts his little squiggly lines. You know, it's, again, I'm not copying where he puts them, but it's that kind of vibe that I'm going for. So heading up towards the finish on this, I think. And if we go back and forth between these two drawings, we can see how much of this I've stolen to bring into that. I mean, a lot of it's kind of a mirror image because it's swapped, obviously, but and it's not. I mean, I wouldn't say it's not intentional because obviously it's intentional. That's the goal of the class, but it's not like I'm trying to completely copy from Bridgman. It's more just remembering that feel, developing that muscle memory, and letting that know. So basically, it's like that. I'll know it when I see it. So I have sort of a vague feeling of what I wanted the drawing from, having copied Bridgman's drawing. And then as I'm drawing along, I go, oh yeah, I like that shape. I remember when Bridgman did that. That looks good. I like that. It's like, oh yeah, that kind of, I don't remember exactly that, but that kind of has the Bridgman feel. It's just one of those things that you start to develop after doing it for a while. It won't happen on your first go around, or maybe it will. I don't know. Maybe you're more talented than I am. It's possible. Certainly possible. Maybe it'll come to you a little bit more quickly. But usually for me, it happens after a while. I just kind of do it and I copy an artist and sort of ruminate on it and think about it and try to get inside their head and figure out their thought process. And after a while, I start making some of the decisions that just feel the same. It's hard to, again, it's hard to put into words, visual language, but I know it when I see it. I'll be drawn along and just go, oh yeah, that feels like a Bridgman arm. That feels like a, Frazetta rib cage or what have you. Or sometimes you'll look at the model and it'll just remind you of a certain artist. And it just starts coming out. All right, so I think we'll go ahead and call that done. Always fun. I could always keep plugging away on these things forever, but I think we're going to go ahead and call that done. And this will be the last of our reference-driven drawings. Next week we'll finish off the semester with a little bit of fun time, a little bit of figure invention or drawing from memory. Fun for me anyway. I don't know. Some of you might think it's the most horrific thing you've ever done, but I think it's a lot of fun. Getting to stretch those muscles and see exactly how much you've memorized. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed the demo. I hope you got a little something out of it, and I look forward to seeing your submissions.